My obsession with the Balkan countries continues to override my better judgment, because today we're going to be checking out the second tier of Bulgarian football. Here are the SPFL stadiums. Starting in Sarsamuyu. The Balkans seems to be the capital of naming stadiums after medieval rulers. They're into their local history here to say the least. Sarsamuyu, also known as Samuel of Bulgaria, was a leader of the First Bulgarian Empire back in the late 10th and early 11th centuries, who was constantly fighting off the Byzantine Empire in the hope that one day he would have a second-tier football stadium named after him. This proves that if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. I'm sure he's looking down on this place and thinking, really, that's the best you can do for me? Nah, it's not that bad. Look, it has a rainbow. Stadion Georgi Benkovsky. Georgi Benkovsky is another historic figure, albeit a lot more recent. He gave his life fighting against Ottoman rule back in the 1870s. Those rulers in Constantinople were clearly very jealous of Bulgaria's yogurt.
How do they do it? How do they turn what comes out of a cow into a creamy delight? When I milk my cow, the product tastes awful. Awful!
Mehmet.
Yes?
Your cow is actually a bull.
Oh, so I've been eating...
Yeah.
Oh.
Georgi Benkovsky has more than one stadium named after him, just not in this league. This specific stadium is not much to write home about, but it's a lot better than it was a few years ago. A recent renovation added new seats amongst other things. Fbet Arena. Now, this one is named after the 14th century leader, Ivor Fbet. Either that or it's named after the betting company that is the biggest sponsor of football in Bulgaria. Not sure. The ground has been home to several different clubs over the years, most of which no longer exist. In fact, Chernomorets 1919 Burgas is a Phoenix club of a Phoenix club, basically. Meaning it's a separate entity on paper, but the fans recognize it as the same club that dates back decades. This venue has also hosted a handful of Bulgaria international matches. Their only win came against Luxembourg. Despite the rounded ends, this is not actually a proper multi-purpose stadium. The track is long gone and the stands along the sidelines are close to the pitch. Stadion Dragolevci. Some of the teams competing in this league are the reserve teams of top-tier clubs, including this one. Unlike some, this reserve team does not play at the club's training facility, but a separate stadium in its own right. One that is also home to another professional club. They're just currently not competing in this league. It's not a bad little stadium, actually. Grodzki Stadion. Having opened in 1910, this is the oldest stadium in the league and one of the oldest football stadiums in the Balkan region. Dunav Ruse have been playing here since 1949. It's situated in the city of Ruse, on the banks of the Danube. Over on the other side is the Romanian city of Giurgiu. Dunav has occasionally played friendly matches against Astra Giurgiu. Like a lot of the stadiums in this league, it's a mix of seating and terracing. The terracing seems to have a lot of moss growing on it, but I actually think that livens up the place a bit, quite literally. I always forget, is moss an animal or a crustacean? I'm not good with astronomy. Stadion Ivailo. The first venue we saw may have been named after a Tsar, but this one is situated in the city of Tsars, Veliko Tarnovo. It was the capital of the Second Bulgarian Empire. As for the club itself, well, firstly, I'm loving the purple and orange colour scheme. You don't see that very often. Those are the colours of the city's flag. Sadly, they dropped the orange when it comes to the stadium itself though. But you know, if that running track ever needs replacing, which it probably will, I wonder which colour they'll choose. Probably purple, but that will look good as well. Albena 1. What a curious name. It sounds like some sort of planet in a faraway galaxy that we know little about. I'll break it down for you. This ground is located at a resort called Albena. and it's one of 2 attached stadiums. This may be the number 1 stadium at the resort, but it's the smallest ground in the league, capacity-wise. What it does have going for it is it's just a few hundred meters down the road from a beautiful Black Sea beach. Oh, my mistake, I thought there was a beach here, but all I see is deck chairs. Starting locomotive. In the first tier we saw 2 starting locomotives. This is the only one in this league. You know, with all these things being named after locomotives, you'd think the trains in Bulgaria would be a little bit better. Still better than Albania's train network though. This stadium may seem typical on the surface, and it is for the most part, but the stands have been built into a landscaped earthen bowl, which is nice. Even got some trees up top. You could have a picnic up there. Speaking of food, there is a sausage sculpture outside. I think some sort of sausage fest is held here. No homo. Eagle's Nest. Ooh, Eagle's Nest. What a name for a stadium. It is actually just a nickname for the main ground at Ludogorets Razgrad's training facility. This is another reserve team. There is just the one stand at this ground, but it's a good one. Clean, modern, there are covered bucket seats throughout. All it's missing is a giant eagle sitting atop the roof. Oh, I thought we were actually going to see one. Because, I mean, a big bird atop a roof of a stadium is not unheard of. Stadion Bonchuk is situated in the town of Dubnica, which lies in the shadow of Rila Mountain, the highest peak in the Balkans and all of southeastern Europe, unless you count the Himalayas as part of southeastern Europe. Which you shouldn't, because that would be weird. It's hard to believe that a ground like this once hosted Bayern Munich. That was back in 1977. What's even more difficult to wrap your head around is that Marek Dubnica beat them. What do you think the result would be nowadays? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Zen Pill. Zen Pill at halftime, maybe. Stadion Minor. This ground is nicknamed the Stadium of Peace. Stadium of Peace. Why is that so? Well, I don't know. My assumption would be that the neighbours complained about the noise. And when the police came, the stadium management said, "No, my friend, we are the Stadium of Peace. Our people would never shout and certainly would never abuse the ref. Unless, of course, he deserved it, like he did last night. Did you see that?" In actuality, I believe it has to do with the fact that it was built less than 10 years after World War II ended, and the Bulgarian government was all about promoting peace at that time. I rather like this stadium. Carved into the hills on the outskirts of Blagoevgrad is Stadion Hristo Botev, a rather unusual stadium. But as always, unusual is a compliment on this channel. There's basically just one proper stand at this ground, as well as a separate building that holds the press boxes and whatnot. But if one stand's not enough, then spectators can get a great view of the game from the surrounding hills. Maybe seek out a vantage point closer than this though. This town, like many we've seen, seems like an interesting place. It has a nice mix of modern architecture from the last few decades, brutalist architecture from the communist era, and traditional architecture from the days of Hristo Botev. More on him later on. Stadion Rakovsky. This is located a literal stone's throw from the Rositsa River. The field is somewhat elevated to protect it from floods, but perhaps in the worst downpours it is still vulnerable. I like how the main stand tapers away to nothing behind the goal at each end, and transforms into a grass embankment which allows this place to hold a lot more than its listed capacity suggests, if need be. But I don't think they're going to be needing that anytime soon. The club rarely attracts more than 1,200 or so supporters, which is pretty standard in this league, I suppose. Stadion Plevin. With a capacity of 22,000, this is the biggest stadium in the league, or at least it was. Only 3,000 spectators are allowed to make their way through the turnstiles nowadays, due to the league requirements. That is completely understandable because the concrete that these stands are comprised of seem to have the structural integrity of feta cheese. Or maybe a mature cheddar in the wintertime. And man, look at that old scoreboard. These scenes might make some people depressed to look at, and I'm sure I'd feel the same way if this were my home ground. But actually I think it looks kind of cool. I suppose it goes without saying that the 3,000 capacity is coming from these blue seats. Stadion Chavdat Svetkov. This is a ground where the beauty of the surrounds far outweighs the beauty of the stadium. Come to think of it, the same could be said for most of the grounds in this league, because Balkan scenery is on point. Svoger is a small town of just over 8,000 people, nestled amongst the mountains. You know, it's so pretty around here that I wouldn't be surprised if people were willing to... Now, hear me out, this might sound crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if people were willing to pay money to float around in the sky in some sort of primitive means of air travel. Nah, that would never happen. That's just silly. I apologize. Stadion Sandanski. Design-wise, Sandanski is very similar to Rakovski, but nothing at all like a jet ski. It's just a completely different thing. Nature has certainly started to take over this place a little bit, which isn't so bad. Especially when you consider that combined with the white seats, it forms the club's colours of green and white. This actually seems like a lovely place to watch football on a sunny spring day. How's the serenity? You just have to watch out for ticks. Stadion Hristo Botev. Again, Hristo Botev. What does it mean? Well, Hristo Botev is considered to be Bulgaria's most highly regarded poet, journalist, and most importantly, revolutionary. He was killed in battle fighting against Ottoman rule in 1876. One of Georgy Benkovsky's brothers-in-arms, I suppose. Design-wise, this is like a bigger and better version of Sandanski and Rakovski. But again, it's nothing like a jet ski. The local legend says that the town of Gabrovo was founded by a blacksmith. Nothing to add, it's just a fact. Here's another. The first secular school in the country was founded here in 1835. So that's cool. I want to learn about science and maths. I don't really care for Jeebus. Okay, this is getting silly. Let's just end it. So there you have it. Time to pick a favourite. There's no obvious choice. I mean, the Eagle's Nest was the most modern, but it could hold like 12 people. I'm gonna go with Stadion Ivalo. And not just because it's purple. I promise. Now it's time for extra time. Bulgaria is known for its yogurt, so I thought I'd just take a look at some of the varieties of trees that you can find in Bulgaria. This is the Bulgarian fir. You don't get any yogurt from this one. This is the Bulgarian oak. Once again, it's not a yogurt producing tree. This here is the Bulgarian maple. And there's no yogurt. I'm starting to question why Bulgaria even has this reputation at all. Thanks for watching, have a good one.